Right, Charlie. What story shall we tell everybody from history?
A story about Guy Fawkes.
Shall we? Alright then. Well, it all started 415 years ago in the Stuart times when there was a brand new king. What was that king called?
King James I.
That's right. And at the time there was a bit of a problem because people in the country were arguing with each other. There were two types of people because there were two types of main religions in the country. What were those religions, Charlie?
Protestants and Catholics.
That's right. And what was King James I?
A king.
He was a king, and which one of those two religions was he?
A Protestant.
He was a Protestant. And
I wasn't very nice to the Catholics.
he wasn't very nice to the Catholics. He discriminated against the Catholics, didn't he? He stopped them from doing certain things. So, a group of Catholics got together in a secret group. And do you know what their plan was, Charlie?
To dig a tunnel
Yeah, and then what?
under the Houses of Parliament.
Under the Houses of Parliament?
Yeah.
What were they trying to do?
Blow up the Houses of Parliament with gunpowder.
And who were they trying to kill?
King James I.
Oh my goodness me. And they were going to build a tunnel. But they didn't build the tunnel in the end, did they? Well, they tried. What happened?
It just filled up with water and the gunpowder got wet.
Why did it fill up with water?
Because it was right next to a river.
The River Thames in London. So that was a problem. So they had to come up with another plan. What was their plan? Their second plan.
To build a cellar under the Houses of Parliament.
Not to build one, to rent a cellar. There was one already there. They needed to pay somebody so they could use it. Well remembered, old lad. So they did. And they also had an idea that they probably would need somebody in their group of Catholics who was quite good at using gunpowder and explosives. Do you know what his name was?
What? Guy Fawkes.
Guy Fawkes, that's right. That was short. That was his short name, wasn't it? What was his big name? Do you remember? Tough one, that. Guido Fawkes. He's called Guy Fawkes for short. And so they started to get barrels of gunpowder and put them under Parliament with the hope that on the day that the king came to open Parliament, kaboom! And it would blow up the king and all the people in it in the Houses of Parliament. And what did they think they would do once the king was dead? What were they going to try and do? Do you remember that bit? The plan was to kidnap
The king's daughter and teach her to be a Catholic.
That's right. And then they would make her queen, and then she would be queen and she'd be Catholic and she'd be nice to the Catholics. Well, things did go a little bit wrong because somebody in the group of Catholics, and we don't know who, sent something to one of the politicians. And what they sent?
What?
A letter. They sent a letter to Lord Monteagle, who was one of the politicians who would have been in Parliament when it opened. And it said something like, don't go to Parliament because something bad is going to happen. So Lord Monteagle thought, that sounds a bit suspicious. And he took it straight...
What does suspicious mean?
Suspicious, it's a bit strange. I mean, makes him think something might happen. Good question, that lad. So he took it to the king and the king's advisors. And the king and his advisors, they sent some guards to go and search under Parliament the night before Parliament was opened. And do you know what they found? Guy Fawkes and all the gunpowder. And they said, "Oi, what are you doing, Sunshine?" And they arrested him. And what did Guy Fawkes say his name was? Did he say it was Guy Fawkes? He said his name was John Johnson. He'd made it up. So the guards got him and they put him in the Tower of London and they made him tell his real name. And then they made him tell the names of all the people who were in his little Catholic gang. And then the king sent some soldiers to go and hunt down these people who were in the little Catholic gang. And they couldn't find them. These men, they were hiding in a house. And they thought, right, there's going to be a fight here. So they got their guns, their muskets, these big guns that they used at the time. And they got their gunpowder ready. And then they found there was a bit of a problem with their gunpowder. Do you remember what the problem with the gunpowder was?
It was wet.
It was wet. And then they did something really, really stupid. What did they do, Charlie Otway?
Put it near the fire.
To try to dry it out. And it did dry out. But then what happened once it was dry?
A big kaboom!
Kaboom! And it was such a big loud explosion that the king's soldiers who were out looking for this group, they heard the explosion and they came running and there was a bit of a fight and they arrested all Guy Fawkes' friends. And the king was happy, and so he made sure everybody knew how close England had come to this Catholic plot succeeding and killing the king. And what did the king say everybody had to do on the 5th of November every year?
Have a party.
And we still do it now, don't we? We still have bonfire night and a bit of a party. All because King James I was saved from being blown up by some Catholics. Do you like that history story? Okay then. You wave.